Hello everyone. First of all, I just want to thank you for all the support you have shown me in the previous videos, and if you're enjoying these videos and you're finding it useful, then I highly recommend enrolling into my Tailwind CSS course. So far we have over 15,000 students and we're getting good reviews about this course. So I highly recommend checking it out if you want to learn Tailwind CSS in detail. So if you want to enroll into this course, you can find the link in the description. Alright guys, so now we're going to be designing this beautiful portfolio website. After we're done with it, you can feel free to customize it however you want and make it your own website so that you can put your own work on it and make it your own portfolio website. So let's just go through it before we start designing it. So let's go through it. As you can see over here, we have this beautiful background image, and right on top of it is the self-promotional section. So it will basically contain your image and a small paragraph about yourself to introduce yourself and your name. And if we go down, then we have a small navigation section. Right, if we go right over here, we have the services, work, and contact. So you can basically navigate to the page you want to see, to the section basically. So this website is actually going to be a flat page website. So each page will have its own section basically, and over here you can have your own services that you provide. So for example, you might do DevOps, or you might, for example, you're a front-end developer and a back-end developer. You can basically put in the services that you offer. And if we go down, now you can basically display the work that you have already worked on. So the projects that you have already completed, you can basically put them over here. And finally, we have a contact form as well. So if anyone wants to work with you and wants you to work on their own project, they can contact you directly from your website. Okay, so now that we have done showing it, now let's actually build it. So first of all, go to your workspace and make a new folder for this project. So we're going to call it portfolio. So once we've made this folder, we can now open it using Visual Studio Code. So now that we have opened the folder, we can basically have a new file, and let's call it index.html. And inside this, let's do the scaffolding for the HTML so that we have a nice template. And now let's go into the head section, so we can basically put in our title. So let's put in our title. In this case, we'll do like Alex Jensen. And another thing we need to use is the CDN for Tailwind, so we can actually use the classes. So make sure you link the CDN inside the head section. So go to Tailwind and find the actual CDN, and we can find it right over here. Now after that, we can basically get started with the main body section. So let's enter the main body section, but before we do that, let's also style the body section. So we're going to style the body. First of all, we're going to use the initialize class. So what this does is that when we have text inside this body section, the text will actually be a much darker, like the same color as the background, but it will have a much darker shade, so it will stand out. It gives it a really nice effect. Next, we're going to give it a background color. Actually, before we do that, let's make the positioning relative, and then we're going to give we're going to use text gray 600 to make the text a gray with a shade of 600. And after that, inside this body section, we're going to have a div. Now this div is going to basically hold the background image, so we're going to use absolute positioning for it, so it's always at the top, and we're going to use width full, and we will do minimum height of the screen. And so again, we use absolute positioning because it's going to be its own separate thing. We don't really care about the elements after it. And inside this div, we're going to have another div that will also be positioned absolutely using absolute positioning, and then we're going to use a z index of 0. We're going to make it go to the back using z0. So then it will basically, the z axis, it will make it go to the 0. So if we have elements in front of it, we can do that using the z index. or Z axis. Then we're going to also stick it to the top using top 0, and we will use width full so it takes up the entire width, and we will give it a height of half, and a background. For the background, we're going to use background cover. This way the image, because this div is going to basically contain an image that will be the background of the website, and using BG cover, this will ensure that the image covers the entire div area. Now let's also use BG bottom so that the background is actually aligned to the bottom, and let's actually now give it an image to see how it looks. You're free to use whatever image you like, but in our case we'll be using our own image. And let's see how that looks. So all the images that I'm going to use in this website, I'm also going to put them in a text file, so you're free to use them basically. I'll put the URLs in there. Okay, so now let's see how that looks. Let's actually open this in Chrome, and as you can see, it looks beautiful. Next we're going to have a navigation section, so we're just going to have a new div after the image div that we have just implemented. And for this div, we're going to use absolute positioning, and now we're going to make this come forward in front of the image. So we will use Z20 in this case, so that it's higher Z axis, and then it will be on top of that image. And we're going to use bottom 10 so that it's at the bottom, but it's 10 pixels basically, so it's 10 above bottom. And we're going to make it stuck from right to left as well, so right 0 and left 0, so that way it's basically it has no margins. And we'll use inline flex to make it so that the elements inside it will basically be in one line. And we're going to use space x20 so that we're going to have a horizontal spacing of 20, and then we'll use justify center so that all the elements inside this div, so the navigation items, will basically be centered. And we'll use font bold to make the font bold, and we're going to use uppercase to make the words, the navigation text, and using uppercase letters. Tracking, we're going to do tracking wide. For the color, we'll also do text gray 600. So we're using tracking wide so that we have more spacing between the words, so that the text is basically more is wider basically. Now, after we've done that, let's add some anchors inside it so we can have an anchor for each section. So first of all, we're going to have services, and we're going to connect it to the services section so that when the user clicks on this, it will take us to the ID of the services. And for the class, we're going to use text cayenne, so that way it has this nice color with a shade of 600. And this is going to be the same for all the other three links, so we're just going to copy and paste it and just change we're going to change the href, and we're going to change the actual content of the anchor, the text, sorry. So we're going to do work, and then we're going to do contacts. Now let's see how that looks. Alright, beautiful. Now it's stuck to over here, and we have this section which we can use for the, so we have the image which takes up half of the height of the screen as I explained, and now we have this area to put in our self-promotion section.